Now, the grass is greener. I'm rather surprised when I was doing just a little bit of research on this film to find that most critics put it down. I mean, that doesn't really give you much faith in critics. I can never understand why, because I remember seeing it with a packed audience on its opening night at the State Theatre in Sydney, which holds, as you know, a lot of people. And the audience was hysterical throughout, including myself. And subsequently, I've seen it several times. I'd say at least 6 times. And each time I see it, I like it more. I don't know, it's a kind of perfection. Maybe they weren't up to it in 1960 when this film came out. I remember writing him years ago, when I used to write for TV Times, writing that, this would be about 10, 15 years ago, that The Grass is Greener in some ways seems more vintage rather than a fairly recent movie. I mean, it is 1960, but it has all the grace and elegance and wit and charm of a movie like The Philadelphia Story or When Ladies Meet, very civilised, and based on a play by Hugh Williams and his Australian wife, Margaret Viner. Now, the play was performed on the London stage in the West End rather successfully, and then, of course, came to the attention of Stanley Donen, the director, and Cary Grant. Now, Stanley Donen and Cary Grant had formed a production company. One of their films was Indiscreet, another, of course, The Grass is Greener. You may notice somewhere on the print Grandon, which is a putting together of Grant and Donen. So Grandon Productions made this one, and the film was actually owned by Cary Grant and doesn't come to television via Universal, although the logo's on the movie. It comes via a special company because it's one of these special movies owned by Cary Grant himself. Now, let's look at some of the scenes as I make a few comments. First and foremost, a wonderful performance by Cary Grant, although I believe he was rather depressed at the time he made the film and had difficulty remembering his lines. Deborah Kerr noted that. And Deborah Kerr, what an enchanting lady. I quoted Robert Mitchum on her very early in the piece. And Deborah Kerr said that she was so lucky to make The Grass is Green. She had a wonderful time because Cary Grant is her first most favourite actor on the screen. And she said Robert Mitchum was my second most favourite actor on the screen. And one of her dearest friends of many years was also in the cast. Well, there you have them. Together, Deborah Kerr and Robert Mitchum. What a team they make. Now, this was about the first time that Robert Mitchum had been in a film of this nature, and it appears that Cary Grant, in the capacity of producer really, became very fussy about how his clothes were. Robert Mitchum commented to an interviewer, "Well, I don't know. I have a girl on the set standing there who tells me when to say why or really whenever Cary Grant comes to the end of a speech." However, it's not like that at all. Robert Mitchum is perfection itself in the part. And look at the lovely setting. I'll tell you more about that in just a moment. Finally, we get to Gene Simmons. Gene Simmons in the role played on stage by Joan Greenwood, just as Deborah Kerr plays the role originated by Celia Johnson. Many people, I should say, remarked, what a flair that Gene Simmons had for playing zany comedy characters. As Hattie, she is great. Unfortunately, the worst period in her life was almost upon her, which is very sad indeed. Finally, the only person retained from the original cast was Moray Watson, who is really good. Strangely, Noel Coward, whose music is used in the film, was interested in playing the part, but they said no, I think possibly because Noel Coward might have been too much of a scene stealer from the other players. Now, watch the beautiful location of The Grass is Greener. Osterley Park. Osterley Park represents Linley Hall, and it's a dream come true. The interiors of this film and the clothes designed, I think, by Christian Dior and Hardy Amies for the women are just out of this world. This movie is a treat, and I hope you love it.